Most people think the biggest financial problem in life is earning too little. It seems obvious, doesn't it? If someone is struggling with money, the natural assumption is that they simply need a higher salary, a better job, a promotion, something that increases the number on the paycheck. And for a moment, that idea feels completely logical. Imagine someone finally getting the job they've been working toward for years. The salary is higher, the position sounds impressive, maybe the family celebrates, maybe friends say things like, "Now you're set." For a while, it really does feel like things are changing. The first few paychecks arrive, and the sense of relief is real. Bills get paid a little easier, the stress seems lighter. Life feels like it's finally moving in the right direction. But then, quietly, something begins to shift. Months pass, the new salary becomes normal, and somehow, the financial pressure slowly returns. The bank balance still feels tight near the end of the month, saving still feels harder than expected, and the same quiet question starts appearing again. If I'm earning more now, why doesn't it feel like I'm getting ahead? This is the moment many people begin to experience something economists and psychologists have talked about for decades. A pattern that quietly traps millions of people, even those earning good incomes. The salary trap. The salary trap isn't really about the size of your paycheck. It's about what happens after the paycheck grows. Most of us grow up believing a simple story about financial success. Study hard, get a good education, find a stable job, earn a good salary. And if you follow that path, life should gradually become easier. But the story leaves out an important detail. Income is only one side of the equation. The other side is lifestyle. And the two tend to grow together in ways people rarely notice. When someone earns more money, their life slowly adjusts to match it. Maybe the apartment gets upgraded, not dramatically, just slightly nicer, a safer neighborhood, a bit more space. The car might change too. Maybe not a luxury car, but something newer, something that feels more appropriate for the new income. Eating out has become more common. Vacations become a little more comfortable. None of these decisions feel reckless. They feel reasonable. In fact, they feel deserved. After all, if you're working harder and earning more, shouldn't life reflect that progress? And this is where the salary trap quietly begins to take shape. Every increase in income is followed by a gradual increase in lifestyle. Not instantly, not dramatically, just slowly enough that it feels normal. Psychologists call this lifestyle inflation. It happens almost automatically. A small upgrade here, a slightly nicer experience there, a few more conveniences that make daily life easier. Individually, none of these choices seem like a problem. But together, they create something powerful. Your financial baseline shifts. The life that once felt like a luxury slowly becomes the new definition of normal. So the person who once dreamed of earning $50,000 a year eventually adapts to that level of income. Then $60,000 becomes the next goal. Then 70, then 90. And strangely, the feeling of financial pressure often stays exactly the same because the lifestyle expands just fast enough to absorb the increase. So the paycheck grows, but the breathing room never does. What makes the salary trap so difficult to notice is that it doesn't look like a mistake. There's no dramatic moment where someone suddenly ruins their finances. Instead, the trap forms through a long series of perfectly reasonable decisions. A better apartment after a promotion, a slightly nicer car when income improves, more convenience when work becomes more demanding. Each choice makes sense on its own. But over time, these small upgrades quietly close the gap between income and spending. And that gap is more important than most people realize. Because that gap is where financial stability lives. It's where savings begin to grow. It's where investments slowly start working in the background. And it's where people gain the ability to handle unexpected problems without panic. But when lifestyle expands to match income perfectly, that space disappears. The paycheck becomes larger, but the margin for financial progress stays the same. This is why you sometimes hear about people with surprisingly high incomes who still feel financially stuck. Doctors, lawyers, engineers, people who spent years building careers that most would consider successful. From the outside, their lives appear comfortable, but internally, the experience can be very different. The mortgage is large, the lifestyle is expensive, the expectations are high, and the pressure to maintain that lifestyle keeps income locked into constant expenses. So even a large salary begins to feel fragile. If the job disappears, the entire system suddenly becomes unstable because the lifestyle was built around the assumption that the income would always continue. In other words, the salary wasn't building freedom. It was quietly maintaining a very expensive version of normal. The turning point usually happens when people start noticing the pattern. They realize the problem isn't simply about earning more money. It's about protecting the space between income and lifestyle. That space is incredibly powerful. It's what allows someone to save without stress. It's what allows investments to begin growing quietly over time. And perhaps most importantly, it creates a sense of breathing room. Instead of every paycheck being immediately consumed by existing obligations, a portion of income begins to work for the future. This doesn't require extreme discipline or radical lifestyle changes. It simply requires awareness. Awareness that lifestyle inflation is always waiting to expand. Awareness that financial calm comes from margins, not just income. And awareness that even small gaps between earning and spending can grow into meaningful security over time. When people escape the salary trap, something interesting happens. Their financial life doesn't suddenly become extravagant. Instead, it becomes calmer, a little less pressure at the end of the month, a small savings buffer that slowly grows, an investment account quietly compounding in the background. None of it feels dramatic. In fact, progress can feel almost invisible at first, but over time, those small margins begin to stack together. Unexpected expenses stop feeling like emergencies. Choices start expanding, and slowly, the relationship with money becomes less about survival and more about stability. The salary trap convinces people that the solution is always more income. But the real shift often comes from something simpler, protecting the gap between what you earn and the life you build around it. Because financial progress rarely arrives through a sudden leap forward. More often, it appears as a quiet widening of space between the life you live today and the life you're slowly building for tomorrow.